Today on Metaphysical Mississippi, we'll be speaking with Jina Daniels and Krista Tew, and we'll be talking about a new venture that they're doing together. It's Reiki for Life. Not FOR, but the number 4. So we're going to find out more about what that is and the classes that they are facilitating together. So stick around. Hey, Jina and Krista.
Hey.
I'm glad y'all are here. Yes, I'm excited to hear about the co-venture you're doing together. I know both of you have had experience as Reiki teachers, and I will let you both share both of your own personal practices, your Reiki origins, if you'd like, and then what brought y'all together and what y'all are offering the community now. Yeah. Jina, do you want to go first? Hey.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been only teaching Reiki probably now for a year and a half or so. And my Reiki origin story is not your typical one, or maybe it is, I don't know. But I didn't hear about Reiki until I moved to Mississippi. So even though, I was living in Northern California and we're all the, you think all the stuff's going on, and it probably is, but for whatever reason, it wasn't in my awareness. And then as we started growing Jack Zen, we're attracting all the metaphysical people. And I was, what is this Reiki we speak of? And so I had never even had a Reiki session prior to taking my first Reiki class. I took it really just out of curiosity. And so I did my first Reiki 1 and 2 in a weekend with Tracy Crosby. And I have to admit that first Reiki 1, I went in with a little bit of healthy skepticism. I wasn't trying to prove it wrong or anything, but I just really wanted to understand more about it. And after full day of Reiki 1, I was still a little bit mystified and a little disappointed that I wasn't feeling all the great things that all my cohorts in the class were feeling, or at least they were talking about. But the next day I went back on Sunday and did Reiki 2. And then during the attunement process, that was a whole different story. Everything, like, I think my third eye busted open and I started really, it just opened up a whole awareness. And, my love of Reiki started that day, I would say. Still at that point had no plans of practicing, being a practitioner or teaching, but started just self-care at that point in time. And it wasn't until a few months later when I decided to add Reiki to the menu at Jack Zen that I was really trying to get the people that work there to kind of step out and be practitioners, but everybody was like, no. I'm like, all right, come on, baby birds, we're going to do this. And I put it on the menu and people started booking and were like, all right, we're going to do this. So that's kind of how I became kind of a practitioner. And then eventually, I wanted to learn more and enhance my Reiki. So I went into the Reiki Master, which was called Advanced when you take it through Tracy Crosby, Reiki Mississippi. So did my ART, and then still didn't have any plans of teaching. But for a couple years later, I was called to share it with others through the gift of teaching. So that brings me to about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I'll stop there and then we'll go about the
Yeah, go on, Krista.
Yeah, I think I've shared my story on here a couple times too, but my journey started with Reiki, started with trying to find alternative ways of dealing with health issues and anxiety, fibromyalgia, arthritis, thyroid problems. And I was weaning myself off medications, not all of them. I'm still, I'm not anti-medical or anti-pharmaceutical when it's needed, but I was just ready to take more responsibility in my healing and my wellness. And there was two different people. I can't remember who came first, which time. I don't really remember my exact first Reiki, which one was my first Reiki session. But I did end up finding a sweet practitioner and worked with her, maybe a year, as a client of hers. And then we got very close and had many conversations about energy work and spirituality and life in general. And then she moved. And when she moved, I thought, well, I need to find a new practitioner, or I can learn it myself and do self-Reiki. That would be cheaper. So that's what led me to taking my first Reiki class. And I took Reiki 1 and 2 also with Tracy Crosby several years ago. But I mainly did it for just to use on myself. But then I didn't do much with it for a year or so. It came back into my awareness. And I was doing yoga classes and going to the salt cave at Soul Synergy. And Alan Evans was teaching Reiki there at the time. And, I had the mindset that a lot of young Reiki practitioners think is, I haven't been using it, so it didn't stick. I feel like I needed to take it again, which I don't know if I needed to, but actually I got a lot from taking it over again with a new teacher, because Tracy was wonderful. I learned there was 2 different styles, so I don't regret at all training under 2 different people, which is kind of like part of the thing that helped us have this idea that you can learn so much from taking from different teachers. So I did Reiki 1 and 2, and then it was almost a year before I did my master, because I didn't, I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it. And but some of my classmates from Reiki 1 and 2 had already taken their master, and they kept saying, you've got to get your master, because it's just like, it just like expands everything. So eventually I did, and it was magical. I mean, and I loved it so much that I didn't want to quit taking classes. So I decided to do the Reiki Master Teacher training, not because I intended to teach, it's because I wanted to keep going to class. And also I did want to learn the attunement process, because another thing that brought me to Reiki, I could help. I did want to help others. I didn't really have plans to be a practitioner as a job, but so many family members that have passed away, and I wanted to be able to help other family members of people who have family members that are dying or going through severe illness, that they could use Reiki for themselves or share that with their sick family members. And so that's why I wanted to learn the attunement so I could share that with others. And I still wasn't intending to teach until my teacher, Alan Levins, left Mississippi to go be the executive director of the Monroe Institute. And so it was like, well, I was perfectly fine just taking classes for her for the rest of my life. But when she left, I kind of, she said, you're ready whenever you're ready, do it. But it took me almost a year after I completed my certification. It was still almost a year before I taught, because I just wasn't sure if that's what I was going to do. But after I taught that first class, I was like, yeah, I enjoy this. Yeah. That's what I want to do. So I've been teaching for a little over a year.
So now let's talk about
Reiki for life.
Reiki
that inception.
for life and how it came about.
I know for me, I've been teaching almost a year, and it's gone great, but there's a lot to learn about Reiki. There's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot to cover.
Okay, Jina, your healing arts center is Jack Zen, and you're located in Midtown in Jackson, Mississippi. And Krista, your Reiki business is Just Be Holistics, and it's Just Be holisticsms.com, and y'all's is jackzen.com. And you're located at Holistic Health and Healing, which is in Flowood, Mississippi. So you both have two separate practices.
But we're just
two separate,
jump from each other.
Two separate things. And y'all do have two separate fields going on. I think you have two separate customer bases, sort of. But it intermingles, but that's what I loved about the coming together of you two, is because it's kind of, bringing the suburbs in with the, the urban.
So we've got geographically different locations, and then our business models are different. Krista's business model is, she has a group of practitioners that kind of all run their own businesses inside of holistic health and healing, right? And Jack Zen, although in the past we've done some of that, Jack Zen, pretty much everyone, even if they're independent contractors, they kind of work through, Jack Zen, and we basically collect the monies and divvy them out that way. So just two different business models. Yeah,
we're more of a collective of practitioners. We call ourselves a center, but we don't have a retail. I mean, some of our practitioners may have some certain goods that they sell that's a part of the services they offer, but we're not a retail space. But just 2 lights down from me is Soul Synergy. So we're referring people to Jack Zen and Soul Synergy for that, the more retail, or if they're wanting to go to an official center. So I mean, I'm nestled in between the two of them.
Yes.
And I think what's beautiful about this community, and we've Metaphysical Mississippi is it shines light on all of us can have our, even if our businesses are on the same model or run similarly. I mean, it's what is that saying that something about rising tides? I can never get that one right, but basically,
I like it, whatever it is.
So so you know what I mean. If we're all working together, so and we're not in competition. So that's beautiful.
Yes. Right. Yes, and that is what's beautiful, is that y'all could have been competition because y'all are both, but y'all aren't. Y'all are coming together, and
like there's massage therapists here. Jina has massage therapists. Soul Synergy has massage therapists. Everybody needs a massage therapist. So there's plenty to go around. I think where we are is we, as a collective, as part of the metaphysical community, or there's also this whole other community of just alternative healing community. I think most of us, or most of the people that I collaborate with, we're so passionate about getting the word out to the general public. It's not about just growing our business. It's about growing the industry, basically. It's about growing the awareness of health and healing and wellness, and being able to take a little proactive responsibility in our own well-being and our own self-care. So I think most of us, yes, we have the responsibility to our own personal businesses, but yet we know that growth happens better with teamwork than so that was a little side tangent.
So Reiki for life, which is basically life. I mean, for life, that's kind of what does the number 4 stand for?
First of all, when we were coming up with what we would call our collaboration, we came up with a lot of different things, but what we knew is that we wanted to focus on Reiki for not just for becoming a practitioner, but Reiki as a lifestyle. So we started playing with just things that we could call, our Reiki school, if you will. And so Reiki for Life came up. And so we started Googling and to see which, domains and what was out there. And the number 4 came up. We both were like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I think at that point, we didn't know there was any significance. And then a few days later, Krista texted me and she's like, I found some more significance with that number 4. Whether
so the number 4 has lots of spiritual and esoteric meanings to it. But the one that's the meaning of it that stuck out to me the most was that the number 4 connects the mind, body, and spirit with the structures of the physical world. And a lot of us in this community, a lot of us are on a spiritual path. Not everyone who walks through our doors necessarily resonates with metaphysical things, or they may think mind body is separate from spirit, like they go to church and then they're just their health. That's 2 different things. But I think that's changing. More and more people are becoming to meld those together. But even though a lot of us are on a spiritual path, we still live in this physical world, and our bodies are still subject to the consequences of our actions or inactions in our physical everyday life. And Jina and I we practice energy work. We know the power of tapping into our higher consciousness. We know the power of having a strong spiritual life, but yeah, we are physical beings, and we still on a day-to-day basis have to navigate those obstacles and complications that come with being a physical in third dimensional form. And so the number 4 kind of helps connect that mind, body, spirit, and physical world together. And that was the whole point of the focus we wanted to have on our Reiki teaching, was not just to churn out people to go be practitioners and do it as a job or a side hustle. It's to teach people, to share, to not even teach, is to share our experience we've had personally with Reiki. That's first. Like Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, that's where our focus is okay, let's get to become acquainted with this energy, this key that we all already have around us and have access to already. Learning Reiki is just a way to help us be more aware of it and to tap into it and to actually feel and see for ourselves the benefits, and to have that personal experience with it. And so for our Reiki 1 and 2 classes, that's what we want to focus on, is how to develop a relationship with Reiki. So for me, the number 4 is about relationship. It's about, and there's like 4 points on it. On the number 4, you have 4 points.
Yeah.
And
you said it perfectly. And it's so funny that as you're describing that, I'm looking behind you at what was just our temporary logo. And if you look at it, it's got the diamond. Now. I know. And it's got the diamond with 4 points on it.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. That was accidental. Or was it?
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah. So that's, I think sometimes these things, as we know, they do, these things come to us before they come to us. Like we don't know why. We just follow the lead.
The breadcrumbs.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what happened even with our coming together as co-teachers, because, or co-facilitators, I think we call ourselves.
Right. Yes.
Because when we first had that initial meeting, not that we haven't had meetings about other things plenty of times, but that initial Reiki meeting, we weren't coming together to talk about co-teaching. We were coming to bounce things off of. In fact, one of the subjects we wanted to broach was perhaps breaking up a Reiki into, the modules, and we'll talk more about that too, because that's a new approach, at least in this area. So that's kind of where we started at. But, I think where we're at in this time right now, it feels like there's a lot more collaborating or co-creating. And I feel like this is like a co-creation. And not only for us. Like, I think it really helps us bring in, I'm learning so much from Krista and
Same here.
her lineage so we're bringing our knowledge together, our experience together. But I feel like, as like you mentioned, how great it is when you have the opportunity to learn from more than one teacher. And so we're going to provide that to our students as well. So yeah, it's just, I feel it's very synergetic, and it just happened organically.
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
And we just, at the time that we're recording this, we just completed our first Reiki 1 module 1. And I think it went well. I think, I'm sure we're going to be tweaking things and evolve with it. But for our first time, I think it kind of went how we didn't know how it was going to go, but I was.
okay, so I am a student in y'all's class.
Yes.
And they tease you, man. No, they lead you on. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm just in anticipation, because there's 3 weeks and I have to wait a couple more weeks to get some. No, I learned, but there's also, y'all are doing a great job of, anticipation of, what's going to happen next week.
Well, we want to set a good foundation. We want to, I know my own experience, and we're still going to offer, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're still going to offer the full day intensive full day class where you get, Reiki 1 and 1 whole day, and Reiki 2 another whole day. And that's not that one way is better than the other. It's just 2 different ways. But me personally, there's so much information to cover in a day to complete a level that I personally like this breaking it down, because not only do I think it's better for the student or certain students, it's better that way, but it's better for me, because I can, when I'm preparing to teach that class, I can focus on, okay, we're going to talk about this. Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about.
Y'all did a great job of just laying the foundation in that first class. And it made me want to come back for more.
Yeah.
So,
and I know we haven't really, unless you saw our flyers before this recording, but really what we're talking about here is what we've done is we've broken up Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 into modules. So a 3-week course, if you will. So 3 separate modules for Reiki 1. So we're breaking it, the full day, same content, full day course into 2-hour sessions. Every Tuesday night is what we're doing right now. So we've already started our first, and Krista coined it the slow and steady route. So we've got the slow and steady route, or the fast and furious route, which is the way we've done it in the past. We're still going to offer that. So we just started our first slow and steady. So that's already going on right now. So anyone that is interested in that, we'll be doing that again probably in
October is when October we'll start Reiki 1 slow and steady.
It'll be on metaphysicalms.com.
And then we'll have another Reiki 2, then Reiki 2 slow and steady will start in November. If you didn't make it this time, you have another chance this year.
So our slow and steady group that started this week, they'll be, if they want to take Reiki 2, they can start Reiki 2 next month. Then there's another slow and steady Reiki 2 next month. But that we could also open up to anyone that maybe has taken Reiki 1 in the past with one of us and just wants to come in and get into the Reiki 2 from there. So it doesn't preclude that, it's not going to just be for the ones that went through this particular class.
Right.
So.
Right.
Oh, wonderful.
They can just contact us and we'll see if
so
you make a good fit right in.
So we do have a Fast and Furious 1-day intensive, July 30th, I believe. 30th. It's a Sunday.
That's a Sunday.
All right. So give a little more information about the classes that you're currently offering this summer, as well as going into the fall and finishing out the year.
So the way we've got it set up right now is our slow and steady classes, which, meet weekly for 3 weeks for Reiki 1 and 2. Those are Tuesday nights, three Tuesday nights a month at Holistic Health and Healing. But our Fast and Furious 1-day intensive for Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, those will be on Sundays at Jack's Zen from 10 to 5. And that the Reiki 1, the next Reiki 1 Fast and Furious will be July 30th. And then we'll follow up with the Reiki 2 Fast and Furious day long intensive, August 27th on a Sunday, and that will be at Jack's Zen.
What was the date on the Reiki 2 of Slow and Steady?
Those will start August 15th, 22nd, and 29th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we feel like but a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with it because this is both how we trained. A lot of teachers do put Reiki 1 and 2 together over a weekend. You do Reiki 1 and Reiki 2. Actually, what I did is I just combined it. I didn't even have them separate per se. But that was one thing that was starting to lay on my heart, is that I did feel like for some people, it's nice to have some time between Reiki 1 and Reiki 2. And Reiki 1, or Jina, do you want to talk a little bit about the difference between Reiki 1 and Reiki 2?
Sure. So the Reiki 1 is Shoden, which means first teaching. So it's the foundation. So that's where we're going to talk about key terms and concepts. What is Reiki, how Reiki works, and then we'll get into the uses of Reiki and
the history,
and then actually the attunement, and then actual practice, of course. But Reiki 1, if you think of it, it'd be more like for self-care and maybe working with family members or something like that. So that's kind of how we look at Reiki level 1, is more for, self, if anything else.
Yeah. So it would be beneficial if you also just took it, just so you could also choose a practitioner too, if you also want to partake in a practitioner, just understanding that it may
just to learn
help
more about it.
Yeah.
And we do, I've
or how to receive, learning how to receive Reiki through Reiki 1 may help you with.
I mean, there's a person can start, just take Reiki 1 and it be a part of their spiritual path or their self-care.
That's all.
And that's all, but Gina, you were gonna.
No, no, it's exactly where I was going with that, is that I think some people just do take Reiki 1, and if that's all Reiki 1, I think, is the most important of all of them. You know what I mean? Yes, they build on each other, but if someone is interested in learning more about Reiki and they just want to take Reiki 1 and learn about that and be able to practice self-care, that's wonderful, and I think, that's where I probably would have ended had I not got hooked into that second day of Reiki 2. Thank goodness. Because it just left me wanting more and more. But
oh man, now I'm gonna have to take Reiki 2.
We'll see if we keep you hooked, Emily.
No.
Do you want to talk about what we talk about in Reiki 2, Krista?
So in Reiki 2, to me, that is more where we focus on the practice and the protocol. This is one thing we talked about in Reiki 1 the other night, is that the word Reiki, it can kind of have a double meaning there. Reiki, loosely translated, is just life force energy. So Reiki energy, as we understand it, Jina and I, do we really know what Reiki is? I think there's a lot we don't know about Reiki or energy in general, and science is learning new stuff every day. But when we say the word Reiki, we're talking about that life force energy that is really through is everywhere. And it's like in other practices, it's ki, it's chi, it's prana, it's Holy Spirit, it's breath, it's all those terms could be talking about the same or a similar energy that a lot of us work with. But to practice Reiki, when you learn Reiki, you're learning a specific protocol or modality to work with that energy. And so in Reiki 2, that's where we really begin I feel like is where we begin the practice of Reiki. You're going to receive another attunement. And when you receive an attunement, we do use symbols in the attunement process to help. How would you describe that, Jina?
Well,
Solidify
it's
the
yeah,
attunement, activate the attunement, fortify the attunement.
yeah. I'm amplify maybe if you
Amplify. Yes, yes.
It's like
So
a quartz
in
crystal.
Reiki, yes. And so in Reiki 2, you will start learning what some of those symbols are that a practitioner or can use not only when they're doing a session, but to use in their everyday life for anything and everything. And their symbols, you have to take the class. I'm not going to divulge secrets about the symbols, but they are there is a tool for us to work with. So that's the difference in Reiki 2 also, is you start learning what some of these symbols are. You learn what they mean, you learn how to draw them, and you receive another, like I said, you receive a second attunement in Reiki 2. But Reiki 2 is when we really get hands-on and practice, and maybe take a little deeper dive. We may talk a little more about, as we're practicing. I know when I taught, a lot of times during the practice sessions, the conversation continues, the discussion continues, questions get asked, and it's during the practice sessions of doing an actual Reiki session, more things come up. So I'm sure we'll maybe revisit some things we talked about in Reiki 1 and maybe add a little bit to it. But am I forgetting something, Jina, that we did in Reiki 2?
No, I think you covered it. And what is Reiki 2? The Japanese word? Always get okuden.
Oh, good. Okuden. Yeah.
I don't know, for pronunciation, but that's like the deeper dive, or the inner teachings, I think is what that
Inner
means.
teachings.
So that's just, getting a little deeper into the practice. So yeah.
So we both kind of resonate with the idea of having some time between Reiki 1 and 2 to we like to say to acclimate and assimilate the energy a little bit. We still may do some Reiki 1 and 2 weekends in the future, but it just depends on another aspect of Jina and I's teaching philosophy is that we were really student focused and look at each individual student. We have certain guidelines or points that every student needs to meet, because that's just generally accepted, what needs to be taught in a Reiki class and what you need to accomplish in a Reiki class. But we also know that everyone that comes into our classes are coming with a different background, a different understanding, different levels. And so though we're going to have basic, standards for everyone, we also realize that everyone comes in there in a different place. So we really want to meet people where they are and help them get to their next level of where they're going. And that may look different for every student. So I think what I love about Jina and I both is even though we know how we like to teach, we're also open to explore other things too, as we all grow and evolve. And right now we both kind of feel we really like to have that time, at least a few weeks between Reiki 1 and Reiki 2. And right now, should we talk about the master class a little bit?
Sure.
Because there we do have students who have already taken Reiki 1 and 2 that want to join our master classes. Yes, Emily?
Now you get another attunement with that one.
Mhm.
Another attunement. Oh, my
See,
goodness.
we just
Three.
Yeah.
3. I'm sorry.
No, there's 5.
There's 5. Oh my goodness. Really?
Well, okay, 3
You're a teacher.
attunements, but 5
Oh,
symbols.
because you got to do the master. Oh, and then you have to be the teacher. And so
Yeah, the teacher's a whole other thing.
Have
Yeah.
y'all
We're
both
not even
gone?
talking about teachers yet.
Have y'all both gone up through the all levels? Both of you? Are y'all both? Okay.
Yeah.
So
The thing about the thing that I'll point out too, just because as you're learning about Reiki and the origins of Reiki, you know, Asui always said that once he had masters, everybody's on the same, everybody's on the same level. So there's no hierarchy here. And I love that about Reiki. So even though we're, Reiki master teachers, we've gone through the levels. We don't, that's why I said we're facilitating this journey. We're not, there's no,
I understand.
hierarchy,
Yeah.
right? Does that make sense?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I love that too. So the way we're kind of setting up the process of completing the training in our program is we're doing Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, and then we kind of feel like it's good to have a little longer time between Reiki 2 and master. But we will have some master classes in October, November, because Jina and I both have some Reiki 2 students, our previous students that are waiting to take their master class. But of course, the prerequisite for taking the master class is to have completed Reiki 1 and 2, and have a little bit, at least a little bit of time. There again, we have what we feel like's a good amount of time between them, but there again, I think Jina and I both are. It's student based. It's going to be individualized too.
We've got people that have, like you mentioned, have coming different points on their journey, and maybe someone's been working with energy, just maybe not Reiki, and so it may not be that big of a jump to jump into master earlier. But we're just gonna kind of take it on a case by case basis. But I think our general recommendation is just to wait for a few months.
And there's some Reiki programs that because I've done my little talking to other people in other parts of the country and Google searching and reading other books by other teachers, and some teachers make you wait a year, or like the master training is a whole, like almost like an apprenticeship or an internship. And so I did want to jump in and say this real quick, and I think Jina feels the same way. I think there's validity in all these different ways of teaching Reiki. I know there's some programs out there that you can go on a retreat for a week and leave there with starting Reiki 1 and leave there with your masters. There's validity. Like, I'm not saying that's not the right way to do it. That is a way to do it. I just like to have different options. I think everybody, like we said earlier, different people are going to be in different places on their path and need a different way to do it. I feel like a week-long retreat and leaving as a Reiki master, I think you got it just like somebody that would do it the way we're doing it. But what might be missing in that setup is the the community that builds and the rapport that you build with teachers and student and your fellow students that does develop when you take your time. But there's some people that they already have a strong community and they can go get that Reiki master and go on about their business, and it's valid. So I just wanted to make that point.
Well,
And Gina, let me let Gina say if she wants to add or take away from that.
No, you covered it. I do want to add one more thing after Emily makes a point.
I was just going to say, y'all specified that y'all weren't healers, but y'all were practitioners. So practice, to me, that is that time between those classes is you need to practice. And if you do it all, bump, you don't have time to practice.
No, you're exactly right. And I think, if you read the definition of what a master is, if you're going to master anything, whether it's, gardening or, artistry or, playing a sport, you cannot just jump into being a master, right? I mean, you've got to practice, like you said. So,
Yes.
That's why we just feel like, it's something that you've got to just kind of keep at it, and not everyone's going to be called to continue on that path. So,
right. And I think another beautiful aspect of going to like a week-long retreat and having that submersion is it's pretty cool to be submerged and all that in a week. And so I think you do get activated and you do get there, but when they leave with that master certificate, that's the whole point. They leave and they got to go start practicing it. They may have received the training of a master, but the real mastership starts when you go home and you start practicing it. So like I said, there's still validity in that way, but whether you do it, that's really fast and furious, whether you do it fast and furious or slow and steady, it's what you said, Emily. At the end of the day, it's the practice, whether it's your own personal practice for yourself and your family, or if you're practicing with others in the community or sharing it to the broader community. The key word here is practice. So with anything, you have to practice it to keep, either to get better or to get more in tune with that energy, is to keep practicing it. So, but
and it's long, while you're on the subject of practice, something that Krista had developed with her students, which I really appreciate, and we're going to continue with, as we go forward, is Krista's been offering a student exchange and practicum for her students on a monthly basis or so. So we're going to be doing a regular, we're going to continue that regular student exchange and practicum. So our students of either one of us or now of us combined, all of our Reiki for Life students will be invited to these regular student exchanges. You want to tell what that means, what that looks like?
Yeah. And I have not been doing them monthly. My intention was, I've had maybe 2 or 3, 4, something like that. But we're going to try to do them monthly if we can, because there's really two reasons for that. First of all, is like I said, the practice part. It's easy to take a class, and because hey, I've got some certifications out there that I paid for that I haven't finished yet. So we all get busy, and it's easy to do something we're excited about, but then it gets lost in the shuffle or put off to the side. But I wanted to provide a platform for our students that once they complete a level or get their certification in that level or even pass masters, that there's still a system, a platform for them to come and continue to practice. I know for me, I've shared the story many times, but before I took Reiki 1 and 2 the second time, I went to a Reiki share that Alan Evans, who ended up being my teacher, was facilitating. And I was just going, I thought I was going to just receive Reiki. And when I got there, she knew I had trained under Tracy, and it was an empty table. She said, I need you to go over there. And I was going to go lay on the table. She's like, no, I need you to give Reiki. And I panicked. I was like, oh, I hadn't done it since Tracy's class, but officially to other people. And she was like, no, you can do it. And I will forever be thankful and grateful to her for that, because by the end of the night, I was like, I can do this. And it was a beautiful experience. So that has stuck with me, that I wanted to make sure that I always offered opportunities for our students to continue to practice. So there's really three, I guess maybe three goals or purposes of the student Reiki exchange. So that's the practice. Number two is to provide a time for us to come back together and follow up, answer questions. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of information that we cover in class, and sometimes the student may not have questions until later, and they get home and they start practicing, then they have questions. So I wanted to have a platform set up where students can come back and ask the questions, or we take a little deeper dive into one aspect that maybe they don't feel like was covered enough in a class. They just need a little more clarity on something. But really, but maybe the most important part, the third goal of the practicum is that community and fellowship, to stay connected with other practitioners. And frankly, we have a good time. we have a good time to visit with other like-minded or like-hearted people. So that's the three purposes of having these practicums, and we're going to try to have them as often as we can. We're going to try once a month, or at least every other month. We'll just kind of see what the demand and the availability of our schedules are, but that is very important to both of us, I believe. So anyway,
thank you. So a practicum is different than a Reiki share, though. I mean, there's several community Reiki shares throughout the community here in Jackson, which I'm used to it because I've heard you talk about it. But are community Reiki shares kind of a rare thing, or are they becoming just very, I mean, is it?
Other places have them, but I think it's kind of cool that just here that I know of in the Jackson area, we have 3 a month. We have a virtual, the Mississippi Reiki Association hosts a virtual Reiki share, which is very interesting. That's online, and it's using distance Reiki. And then I have been co-hosting a Reiki share with Russell Holly at his studio. He's a yoga teacher and Reiki practitioner. And then the Mississippi Reiki Association also hosts a community Reiki share at Soul Synergy. Now, Reiki shares, and Jina, hop in if you have something else to say about it. They're not always for the general public. I think a lot of them started as like Reiki circles, and it's where practitioners shared Reiki with each other. I don't know, Jina, have you heard of many community Reiki shares that's open to anyone?
Yeah, I think we've had Reiki shares that were, like, for instance, when we did the Ukraine event, where, so we offered a Reiki share, and if you were Reiki, trained, you would facilitate Reiki or practice Reiki. And there was people there that weren't Reiki tuned, right? But they were recipients. So, so to answer your question, Emily, the practicum that we're talking about with the student exchange and the Reiki shares are very similar in that one aspect of it, but remember that one aspect is one aspect of the student practicum.
Yes.
Our student practicum, is not open to the public at this time, because it's meant to be a safe place for them to practice and answer questions. And where the community Reiki shares, the community Reiki shares has served as a great place for our students to practice. It is a good practice for our students. Our students will go to these and share Reiki with others there. But that's really the community Reiki shares. I think our main focus is for the broader community to spread and share Reiki to those, because we will have people come to the Reiki shares that's never received Reiki or not even sure what Reiki is. They just heard of it, or a friend drug them along. So I think the focus of at least the community shares those 3 that I'm involved in, that's open to the public, and it's more about spreading awareness of Reiki to the general public, where our student practicum is a space for our students to practice. So does that make sense?
Yes.
What the difference is?
I think it's almost like a mentorship.
Yes.
So and a safe place to ask questions and circle back to some training that they may have had already, and maybe dive deeper. So
yeah.
So if someone's interested in registering for classes or to find out information, where should they go right now?
Right now they can go to, there's a bit.ly link, you should probably have it in the show notes, Reiki for Life, and that'll take them to the availability for signups. And eventually we will have a Reiki for Life website that they'll be able to go to. In the meantime, contact either one of us and we'll be able to get you there.
And I'll have both of your contact information in the notes, as well as you both have a directory page on our website, metaphysicalms.com.
Yes.
Right.
And our classes will be posted on the Metaphysical Mississippi website. So you can look there too to find the next classes. But just so people can be thinking ahead, and registration for these other classes will be made available as the class time gets closer. September will be taking a little break from teaching. Jina has a retreat planned in Costa Rica in September, so we're gonna let her go do that. And I've got a trip I'm planning too. So, but we'll be back in October, starting our Slow and Steady Reiki 1 and Fast and Furious Reiki 1 in October, and then Reiki 2 will be in November, with both options, a Slow and Steady and a Fast and Furious. And we'll have a master class in October and a master class in November that are primarily for our current students who are ready to take their master level. But those dates will be on the Metaphysical Mississippi calendar. People want to look ahead, and as registration gets closer to the class dates, those will be on those links that Jina will have available for us.
All right. Well, ladies, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to completing my Slow and Steady, because that's how I am. And I'll let everybody know how it went. No, I'm just joking. It's gonna go great. It's gonna go great.
Yes.
All right. Well, y'all have a great
Emily.
day.
Thank you, Jina.
Bye, everybody. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent.